Silence filled the great hall of the Galactic Council. The meeting chamber on Nexus Station was enormous, shaped like a shining silver dome. Lights glowed softly from the ceiling, and long tables curved in a circle around a single empty space in the center. Holographic symbols floated above each seat, showing the names of the 7 great races that ruled the galaxy. No one moved. No one spoke. Dozens of alien eyes, blue, red, golden, and even glass-like, were fixed on one man. Ambassador William Harris had risen from his chair. He stood tall, though lines of age crossed his face and silver streaked his hair. His hands rested calmly on the table. His voice, when it came, was quiet but strong. "We are done being treated like servants." A wave of confusion spread through the room. The blue-skinned diplomats of the Varnax Union tilted their heads. The tall insect-like beings of the Arcturon Federation clicked their jaws in surprise. Even the floating gas creatures known as the Threll changed color from pale green to sharp orange, a sign of shock. For 5 long years, these walls had heard arguments, promises, and lies. Humans had begged for equal standing, hoping to join the council as true partners. But every meeting had ended the same way: more delays, more insults, more excuses. Today was different. Council Speaker Zerkith, a towering creature with purple scales and 4 arms, broke the silence. His deep voice echoed through the chamber. "Ambassador Harris, please sit down. We all get frustrated sometimes." Harris did not sit. Instead, he reached across the table and picked up a data tablet that Zerkith had left open. The alien's expression froze. On the screen was a glowing map of human space, 3 mining colonies marked in red. Below them, official council symbols and hidden orders. "This," Harris said, lifting the tablet, "does not look like frustration, Speaker Zerkith. This looks like you plan to steal our worlds while pretending to be our friends." A loud hiss rolled through the room. Several council members leaned forward, their eyes widening. The other 6 alien representatives looked at each other in disbelief. The secret document was never meant for human eyes. Zerkith's scales darkened to deep violet, the color of fear and shame in his species. "That is simply a planning exercise," he said quickly. "We consider many possible futures." At that, Ambassador Susan Miller, the youngest human in the room, stood beside Harris. Her face was pale but her voice stayed calm. "Including futures where you betray your allies and break every treaty we signed? Where you take our colonies after we defended your trade routes from the Promaxian raiders?" A gray-skinned alien named Quira waved one of her 6 tentacles lazily. "Your ships were barely useful in that conflict," she said. "Without us, your kind would still be trapped on one small planet." The words hung in the air like poison. Harris slowly pushed the tablet across the table. "We have been patient," he said. "We have been respectful. For 20 years, humanity has asked for equal membership in this council. For 20 years you have found reasons to delay. Today that ends." He looked at each alien representative one by one. Effective immediately, Earth withdraws from all council agreements. The chamber exploded with noise. Shouts in alien tongues, flashing lights, bursts of color from the Threll. Translators struggled to keep up. "You cannot withdraw," one voice yelled. "You are bound by treaty," cried another. "Humans cannot survive alone," hissed a third. But Harris raised one hand. Behind him, the 5 other human ambassadors stood together. "Come. Silent. Prepared." From across the circle, the insect-like Arcturon delegate leaned forward, mandibles clicking. "You need us," he said. "Your colonies depend on our protection. The galaxy is dangerous for a young species like yours." Harris gave a small, tired smile. "We have learned much from our time with this council, perhaps more than you realize." Susan Miller stepped forward and handed him a small metal device. Harris pressed a button. Instantly, every holographic screen in the room went dark. For several seconds nothing moved. Then the lights flickered back and a sharp alarm sounded. Council members looked at their displays in shock. Every file, every record about Earth and human territories was gone, deleted from the entire galactic database. "We will protect what is ours," Harris said. "If one day the Council wishes to speak to humanity again as equals, you may contact us. Until then, all diplomatic channels are closed." He turned and walked toward the exit. The other humans followed in perfect order. Their steps echoed across the silent floor. For the first time in galactic history, the humans walked away. The massive doors slid shut behind them with a final metallic thud. Inside, the remaining council members stared at one another. Some shouted in anger. Others looked uneasy. The speaker rubbed his hands over his scaled face, trying to think of what to say. Then, from the far end of the table, a young alien named Trell, the newest and smallest member of the council, spoke quietly. "I am not so sure they will come back," he said. "I think we may have made a terrible mistake." Outside the chamber, the human delegation moved through the shining corridors of Nexus Station. None of them spoke until they reached the shuttle bay. Stars glittered beyond the glass as their transport prepared for departure. Harris took a long breath. His face softened, the weight of years falling from his shoulders. He looked at Susan Miller. "Send the signal," he said. "It's time for Plan Omega." The shuttle doors closed, engines roaring to life. As it drifted away from the station, a blue light flashed across the dark side of Earth's moon. The first sign that humanity's secret plan had begun. The shuttle carrying Ambassador Harris and his team entered hyperspace, leaving Nexus Station and the Galactic Council far behind. For the first time in decades, humanity was alone in the galaxy, and free. Inside the shuttle, no one spoke for a long time. The hum of the engines filled the silence. The crew could feel the weight of what had just happened. Years of negotiation, endless patience, and polite smiles were now over. Susan Miller finally broke the silence. "Do you think they'll come after us, sir?" Harris stared out at the endless stars. "They won't, not yet. They still believe we're weak. That will buy us time." He turned toward her and gave a faint smile. "Let's make good use of it." Far away on Earth, deep beneath the city of Geneva, a hidden facility came alive. Security doors opened, lights flickered on, and dozens of screens began showing encrypted data streams. Soldiers, scientists, and engineers rushed into position. A voice echoed through the underground command room. "Attention all personnel, Operation Omega is now active. All global communication is under blackout protocol." The room was packed with people. Generals in dark uniforms stood beside scientists in lab coats. Holographic maps of Earth and the surrounding colonies floated in the air. Every person there knew the same truth: the time for peace was over. At the front of the room stood Admiral Diane Powell, commander of the Earth Defense Network. Her sharp eyes scanned the room. She had spent her entire career preparing for this moment, though she had prayed it would never come. "We trained for this," she said firmly. "The Council thinks we're unprepared, that we depend on them. Let's show them how wrong they are." The crowd nodded. Around them, operators activated systems that had been secret for decades. Above Earth's orbit, massive satellites began to turn. Hidden cannons unfolded from old weather platforms. Entire rings of stealth drones came online, forming a silent defense network known only as the Iron Halo. On the moon, human bases that once appeared to be mining sites revealed hidden hangars. From beneath the surface, dozens of sleek, black ships rose, unmarked, invisible to scanners. These were Vanguard-class interceptors, the pride of Earth's secret fleet. Farther out, near Mars, enormous shipyards that had been disguised as research stations powered up their engines. Workers cheered as the USS Resolute, humanity's first true warship, glowed with light and came alive. Its AI core spoke in a calm voice. "All systems operational. Awaiting orders." Back on Earth, Admiral Powell received the report. "Good. Begin Phase 2. Secure all human colonies. No transmissions to the Council." She turned to her communications officer. "And get me Harris. He'll want to see this." Meanwhile, aboard the returning shuttle, Harris's comm device blinked. A secure channel opened, showing Admiral Powell's face. "Welcome back, sir," she said. "The Council reaction is chaotic. Their news feeds are filled with panic and confusion. Half the members want to punish us. The other half are arguing about trade routes." Harris nodded. "As expected. They underestimate us. Let them talk. While they argue, we prepare." He looked thoughtful for a moment, then asked, "Any movement near our colonies?" "Nothing major yet," Powell replied. "But our scouts report an Arcturon patrol fleet near the belt. We're tracking them." Harris leaned forward. "Don't engage. Not yet. We're not ready to show our full hand." He turned to Susan Miller. "How's our communication blackout holding?" "Perfectly," she said. "All human systems are now isolated. Even if the Council tries to scan our networks, they'll find nothing." "Good," Harris said softly. "Then Plan Omega begins." 2 days later, in orbit above Luna Base, a secret meeting took place between Earth's top leaders. Harris arrived in person, along with Admiral Powell and Dr. Arjun Patel, the head of the Human Research Directorate. Dr. Patel activated a hologram that showed a map of the Milky Way. Human territories glowed in blue, small compared to the vast red regions controlled by the Council. We can't fight them in open space, he said. Their fleets are still 10 times larger than ours. But we don't need to fight like them. He zoomed in on a cluster of hidden bases. These are our deep space colonies, self-sustaining, unregistered, invisible to their scanners. They will form our shadow network. If the Council attacks Earth, we'll strike from the dark. Harris smiled. Then it settled. We'll let them believe we've disappeared. Meanwhile, we'll grow stronger in the shadows. Admiral Powell crossed her arms. Sir, there's one problem. We have reports that the Council has already called for an emergency session. They might send a fleet to monitor us. Harris frowned. Monitor? You mean threaten? Yes. And we have no allies left on the Council. Not true, Harris said quietly. There's one. He looked at a secure message on his data pad. A single name appeared, Trell, the young alien who had spoken up after the humans left. He believes the Council made a mistake, Harris said. And he's willing to help us from the inside. Admiral Powell raised an eyebrow. You trust him? No, Harris admitted. But sometimes even an enemy can open a useful door. Back on Nexus Station, panic spread through the Council chamber. Reports came in from every sector. Human data deleted, communication links dead, trade routes blocked. Council Speaker Zerkith slammed his fist on the table. They cannot cut us off. They rely on us for supplies. But one of his aides ran forward, trembling. Sir, our freighters can't enter human space. Their new defense grid just locked us out. Zerkith's eyes narrowed. So, they think they can survive without us? He turned toward the other delegates. Then we'll remind them who holds power in this galaxy. Outside, the stars over Nexus Station burned bright. Somewhere, deep in the black, humanity prepared to prove him wrong. The great chamber of the Galactic Council was no longer calm. It was chaos. Holographic screens blinked red across the curved walls of Nexus Station. Dozens of alien diplomats shouted over one another. Translations echoed in every language, sharp clicks, deep rumbles, high-pitched tones. Humans were gone. So were their records. And the Council had no idea how. Council Speaker Zerkith, the tall, four-armed reptilian who once ruled the room with pride, slammed his hands against the table. Enough. Silence. The noise faded, but the tension stayed. Zerkith's purple scales had darkened to a stormy shade, sign of anger and fear. I want a full report. How did the humans wipe their data from our systems? An insect-like delegate from the Arcturon Federation twitched his antennae. Their technology is primitive. They shouldn't be able to do this. A gray-skinned alien named Quira hissed. Perhaps it was sabotage. A trick before they ran. Zerkith's voice dropped low. No, this was not a trick. This was planned. He turned toward his aide. Give me the intelligence division. I want to know everything they've built in the last 20 years. The aide hesitated. Sir, that may take time. Most of our access to human systems is gone. Even our spies on Earth have gone silent. Zerkith's eyes narrowed. Find them. Now. Across the room, Trell, the youngest member of the Council, sat quietly. His silver eyes flicked between the shouting delegates. He had warned them that humanity was not as simple as they believed. He remembered Harris's calm voice, the quiet confidence in his eyes. Trell felt a cold shiver. They planned this for years, he thought, and we never saw it coming. Beside him, a Threll gas being changed color to dark red, showing alarm. Our trade networks with human colonies have stopped completely. Our freighters are being turned back. By whose authority? Zerkith demanded. By theirs, the Threll answered. They've activated new border beacons, military grade. They warn any ship entering human space will be fired upon. The chamber erupted again. The Council had never seen this kind of boldness from a young species. They're bluffing, shouted an Arcturon. Their fleets are small. They can't enforce such threats. Quira sneered. Then let's test them. Send a patrol. A small one. Remind them who rules the galaxy. Zerkith paused, thinking. His pride was burning, but deep inside something else was growing, fear. Do it, he said finally. Send a patrol to their outer colonies. If they fire, we'll answer with full force. Trell's heart sank. He wanted to speak to stop them, but he knew his voice would be ignored. The Council was ruled by pride, not wisdom. Meanwhile, far from Nexus Station, deep in the black between the stars, Admiral Diane Powell stood inside the command deck of the USS Resolute. The warship glowed with pale blue light, surrounded by escort vessels forming the first human battle group in history. A communication officer turned toward her. Admiral, we've detected an alien patrol entering the belt region. Arcturon signatures. 3 heavy cruisers. Powell's expression did not change. Have they hailed us? No, ma'am. They're moving directly toward Mars Outpost Delta. She pressed a button. Connect me to Ambassador Harris. Moments later, Harris's hologram appeared beside her. I was expecting this, he said. The Council won't sit still. They'll test our defenses first. Orders? Powell asked. Do not fire first, Harris said. Let them make the mistake. Understood. Powell turned to her crew. Keep our ships hidden. Engage stealth protocols. If they attack, we strike hard and fast. The officers saluted. Across the fleet, engines went silent as ships vanished from scanners, ghosts in the dark. Back on Nexus Station, Zerkith received the first report from the patrol fleet. The message was simple. Approaching human colony. No response to hails. Their systems appear offline. Proceeding closer. Zerkith leaned back, satisfied. See? They're bluffing. The humans are running scared. But before he could finish his sentence, another message flashed across the screen. Emergency. They're jamming our sensors. Unknown ships detected, closing fast. Static filled the transmission. Then, nothing. The signal went dead. The room froze. Zerkith's eyes widened. What happened? The communication officer stammered. Our patrol fleet, it's gone. All 3 cruisers destroyed. No survivors. The silence that followed was heavier than before. Trell looked around and saw fear for the first time on the faces of the Council. They weren't bluffing, he said softly. They were waiting. Zerkith turned sharply. You think they set a trap? I think they prepared for everything, Trell answered. You pushed them too far. But the speaker refused to listen. Pride was louder than reason. Then they've declared war. And we will end it quickly. Hours later, an emergency broadcast went out across the galaxy. The Council called it Operation Unity. In truth, it was an order for all member races to gather fleets and prepare for a show of power against humanity. Propaganda spread fast. Humans have turned rogue. They threaten the peace of the galaxy. They must be contained. But in the shadows, other voices began to whisper. Some younger races, those often bullied by the Council, started to question the story. They remembered human aid, human trade, human kindness. They had seen Earth's ships defend their worlds from pirates when the Council had ignored their cries. Among them, small groups began to meet in secret. Their message was simple. Maybe the humans were right. On Earth, Harris watched the news feeds in silence. He could see the Council twisting the truth, painting humanity as villains. He turned to Admiral Powell. They're building an army, she said. Every day we wait, their fleets grow stronger. Harris nodded slowly. Then we don't wait. Begin the next phase. It's time the galaxy learns that humanity doesn't bow. Powell's eyes glinted. Understood. Phase 3, activation of the Shadow Fleet. Outside Earth's orbit, the stars shimmered as hundreds of hidden ships came online. Vessels built in secret, guided by artificial intelligence, armed with weapons the Council had never seen. Humanity was done hiding. Far away on Nexus Station, Trell looked out at the stars and whispered to himself. You fools, you've awakened something you can't control. The war for the galaxy had begun. The stars around Mars Outpost Delta shimmered quietly, unaware that war was coming. 4 months, the small human colony had been silent. No trade ships, no communication with the Galactic Council. Only quiet radio signals pulsed from its towers, like a heartbeat in the dark. Inside the command center, Captain Elias Ward watched his screens carefully. He was a tall man with sharp eyes, once a freighter pilot, now in charge of Mars's outer defense grid. Behind him, young officers whispered nervously. Sir, sensors picking up movement, one of them said. Multiple ships bearing 210. Signatures match Arcturon cruisers. Ward's jaw tightened. How many? 3 heavy cruisers, maybe more behind them. They're not responding to hails. He nodded slowly. Then it begins. He turned toward the intercom. All stations, battle alert. Activate silent defense protocol. Do not open fire unless fired upon. Red lights filled the room. Metal shutters closed over windows. Deep under the colony, generators began to hum. From orbit, it still looked like a quiet mining outpost, but inside humans were preparing for their first test. Far away, aboard the Arcturon flagship Calther, the alien commander clicked his mandibles in irritation. They ignore us. How rude, he hissed through his translator. These humans need to remember their place. His second-in-command, a smaller insectoid, looked uncertain. But sir, their silence could be a warning. The commander waved his claws dismissively. They are bluffing. Target the colony's main power grid. A small strike will make them listen. Weapons began to charge, glowing green beneath the ship's hull. On Earth, in the underground control center in Geneva, Admiral Powell stood before a massive screen. A red signal had just appeared. Mars outpost reports contact with Arcturon forces, her aide said quickly. Powell's eyes narrowed. So, they couldn't resist testing us. A hologram of Ambassador Harris flickered to life beside her. Do we have authorization to respond? She asked. Harris nodded. If they fire, you strike back. No hesitation. The galaxy is watching. Powell turned to her communications officer. Send the order, release the Shadow Fleet. Back near Mars, the Arcturon commander gave the command. Fire. A blinding green beam lanced through the void, cutting toward the human colony. But just before impact, the beam scattered into nothing, vanishing against an invisible wall. The alien officer stared. Shields? But they don't have that technology. Suddenly, the black space around Mars flickered. Dozens of invisible shapes shimmered into view, sleek human ships, black as night, appearing from nowhere. Captain Ward smiled. They fired first, he said. Now it's our turn. Weapons free. The human fleet came alive. Dozens of Vanguard-class interceptors burst forward like shadows. Their weapons glowed blue as railguns and plasma turrets opened fire. The Arcturon cruisers tried to return fire, but their systems lagged. Human jammers filled their sensors with static. The first alien ship exploded in silence, torn apart by precision shots. The second tried to flee but was caught in a web of guided drones, each one detonating along its hull in perfect formation. Inside the Arcturon flagship, chaos reigned. They were supposed to be primitive, someone screamed. Their weapons are too advanced. The commander stared at the view screen in horror as his last cruiser disintegrated before him. His final thought, before the explosion consumed him, was a single bitter truth. We underestimated them. Hours later, the news reached Nexus Station. In the council chamber, Speaker Zerkith read the report in disbelief. Destroyed? All of them? The intelligence officer nodded weakly. No survivors. The humans didn't even chase the escape pods. They simply vanished after the battle. Zerkith's claws scraped the table. They dare to ambush us? But Trell spoke quietly from across the room. You sent them there, Speaker. You wanted to remind them of their place. They reminded you instead. Zerkith glared at him. You defend them? After what they've done? Trell met his gaze calmly. I do not defend them. I respect them. You cannot keep poking a predator and expect it to stay tame. The other council members shifted uncomfortably. Some looked angry but others looked afraid. Perhaps, said one of the Threll, we should send envoys. Try to reopen talks. Talks. Zerkith growled. They declared war. We will show them what war means. He slammed his hand on the control panel. Summon every fleet. Humanity will be crushed before they become a threat to us all. Meanwhile, on Earth, a quiet celebration filled the war room. Reports of the battle played on silent screens, glowing symbols showing the human victory near Mars. Admiral Powell exhaled slowly. 3 cruisers down. No human losses. The room filled with restrained applause. Harris smiled faintly. Good work, Admiral. The galaxy will not believe this. Powell turned to him. They'll come harder next time. I know, Harris said. And we'll be ready. He looked at a smaller screen where a single encrypted message waited. The sender's name made him pause. It was Trell. Harris opened the message. A small hologram appeared. Trell's voice was quiet but urgent. Ambassador, the Council is mobilizing their grand fleets. They plan to attack your colonies and Earth itself. You must prepare. Harris nodded slowly. Thank you, Trell. You just saved lives today. Do not thank me, Trell replied. I only hope someone survives this madness. The message ended. Harris turned back to Powell. Begin evacuation of non-military personnel from the frontier colonies. And alert all shadow bases. Phase 4 starts now. Powell saluted. Yes, sir. Days passed. The galaxy buzzed with rumors, of human fleets appearing from nowhere, of council ships vanishing in the dark. No one could confirm the truth. But across 1,000 systems, people whispered a new phrase. The humans have teeth. And in the quiet of his office on Earth, Ambassador Harris watched the stars from his window. He knew this was only the beginning. They called us children, he said softly to himself. Now they'll see what children can become. Outside, Earth's night sky glowed faintly with moving lights, ships launching, fleets preparing, and the iron halo spinning into position. The first strike was over. The war for humanity's future had just begun. The great chamber of the Galactic Council on Nexus Station was filled with noise and anger. The air shimmered with heat from hundreds of alien voices shouting across the hall. For the first time in centuries, the council was no longer united. At the center, Speaker Zerkith slammed his claws against the table. Order. There will be order. But no one listened. The Drani delegates hissed accusations at the Threll, the Voss shouted insults back, and the Zerith diplomats whispered about betrayal. The holographic map above them showed red zones, human colonies lost to the Council's control, trade routes cut off, fleets missing. You promised us an easy victory, a Voss senator roared. 3 of our cruisers gone and no bodies recovered. Are we fighting ghosts? Zerkith's eyes glowed faintly. You are fighting humans, and they have chosen war. We will respond with full strength. But from the corner of the chamber, a calm voice broke through the noise. It was Trell, the ambassador who had once spoken for reason. With full strength? He asked quietly. Tell me, Speaker, how many fleets have already vanished without a trace? The outposts at Delta Prime, Kepler 92, and Oris 9, no response. Are you sure they were destroyed by humans, or are your admirals simply lying to you? Murmurs filled the chamber. Zerkith glared at him. Watch your words, Trell. You stand close to treason. Trell stood unflinching. If asking for truth is treason, then perhaps this council no longer deserves to lead. Far away, aboard the hidden human base Iron Halo, Ambassador Harris watched a live feed of the meeting. The audio came through encrypted relays, stolen from a council spy network. Admiral Powell entered the room behind him. They're tearing each other apart, she said. Your message reached the right ears. Harris nodded slowly. Trell's doing what he can. If the council fractures, some of them might break away and side with us. We need allies before the main fleets reach our borders. Powell crossed her arms. And if they don't? Then, Harris said, Plan Omega goes to Phase 5. She frowned. That's the evacuation plan. No, he corrected softly. That's the contingency for when diplomacy dies completely. She stared at him, realizing what he meant. You mean, retaliation? Harris didn't answer. He simply looked at the stars on the screen, each one a potential battlefield. Back in the council chamber, things grew worse. An explosion of light filled the room, a live transmission from the frontline fleet. A panicked voice echoed through the speakers. This is Fleet Commander Joreth. We've been ambushed, human ships in every direction. They came out of nowhere. The message cut off. The hologram flickered, then vanished. A long silence fell. Even the loudest senators froze. Zerkith finally spoke. Another fleet, gone. Trell looked around the chamber. How many more must vanish before you admit the truth? They are outsmarting us. They are stronger than we believed. Perhaps it is time to negotiate. The Threll ambassador nodded. Agreed. If we continue this path, the war will consume us all. But Zerkith's eyes burned with fury. Negotiate? With murderers? They erased our data, destroyed our fleets, humiliated this council. No, this ends only with their surrender or extinction. He pointed a clawed hand toward Trell. You would betray us for them. No, Trell said softly. I would save us from you. Guards moved in, weapons raised. But before they reached him, several delegates stood up to block their path. He speaks truth, shouted one. You've led us into disaster, cried another. The chamber descended into chaos once again. Shouts, alarms, diplomats storming out. For the first time, the council that had ruled the stars trembled under its own pride. On Earth, the humans watched and prepared. Factories across Luna, Mars, and Europa Station worked without rest. Massive shipyards glowed under the light of the sun, building the new fleet, sleek, silent warships with AI-guided drones and phase-cloak technology. At night, Earth's skies were alive with movement. Children pointed to the stars as new constellations appeared, human ships gathering like shadows ready to strike. In the Iron Halo base, Powell walked into the war room where Harris stood before a giant display labeled Phase 5, Shield of Terra. The council will break soon, she said. But their fleets will still come. Harris nodded. Then we'll show them that Earth will never kneel again. He pressed a button on the console. A deep hum filled the room. The hologram showed a massive sphere forming around Earth. A planetary defense network powered by ancient alien tech recovered from the Kuiper Belt. It's not finished, Powell warned. It doesn't have to be, Harris replied. Just enough to make them hesitate. Meanwhile, deep in space, Trell escaped Nexus Station aboard a small courier ship. He had taken a risk, stealing data files that proved the Council's secret plan to divide the galaxy and enslave weaker species under Reconstruction law. He knew he could never return. But as he looked out at the stars, he whispered to himself, maybe they'll forgive me one day, if anyone survives this. He sent one final encrypted message toward Earth. Ambassador Harris, I have proof of the Council's crimes. Use it wisely. The galaxy must see who the real enemy is. Then, as patrol ships appeared on his scanners, he turned his vessel toward deep space, vanishing into the darkness. Days later the broadcast went live. Across thousands of worlds, screens flickered with human and alien faces alike, as Harris appeared before the galaxy. This is Ambassador Harris of Earth, he said firmly. The Galactic Council has lied to you. They began this war to control your worlds. We have proof. He shared Trell's files, horrific images of Council orders, fleets sent to conquer peaceful species, slave colonies disguised as refugee stations. The galaxy erupted in outrage. Uprisings began on dozens of worlds. Council symbols were torn down and rebel banners rose in their place. For the first time, the galaxy didn't see humans as rebels. They saw them as liberators. In the shadows of Nexus Station, Speaker Zerkith watched the chaos unfold on the screen. His claws trembled with rage. They've turned the galaxy against us. His aide whispered, terrified. What do we do now, Speaker? Zerkith's voice was cold as stone. We finish what we started. Prepare the Grand Armada. Back on Earth, as Harris stood on the balcony overlooking the city lights, Powell joined him quietly. You did it, she said. The truth is out. Harris looked up at the stars, where warships glowed like fireflies in orbit. No, he said softly. The truth is just the beginning. He turned away, his expression calm but heavy. Now, Admiral, we show them what happens when humanity fights not just for itself, but for everyone who ever lived under their rule. The night sky above Earth shimmered with blue light as the shield of Terra activated fully for the first time. The next phase of the war had begun, and the galaxy would never be the same again. The stars above Earth were no longer peaceful. They burned red with the arrival of the Grand Armada. From deep space, thousands of warships emerged, vast destroyers, living carriers and colossal dreadnoughts built by 7 alien species of the Galactic Council. Their shadows stretched across the moon, covering half the Earth in darkness. Each ship carried weapons that could split moons apart. Each commander had one order: destroy humanity's defenses and end the rebellion. On the surface, alarms echoed across every city. Missiles were armed, bunkers sealed, and evacuation sirens howled across continents. Inside the command tower of Iron Halo, the hidden base orbiting Earth, Ambassador Harris stood beside Admiral Powell, staring at the tactical display. It showed hundreds of red markers, enemy fleets, closing in fast. They're here, Powell said quietly. Yes, Harris replied. And they will learn who we have become. The holoscreens around them flickered to life as messages arrived from every corner of human space. From Mars. Defense grid online. Shields at 70%. From Europa Station. Fleet Omega ready for launch. From Luna Command. All civilian transports clear. Request permission to engage. Harris turned toward Powell. Give the order. Powell nodded. All fleets, defend the homeworld. Space lit up with fire. Dozens of human ships rose from the planet and the moon, sleek, dark, and silent. They moved like shadows, their surfaces reflecting nothing, vanishing between the stars. When the alien armada opened fire, the sky turned white. Beams of plasma, kinetic torpedoes, and bursts of antimatter streaked toward Earth. But one by one the attacks vanished, absorbed by the glowing blue barrier of the shield of Terra. Inside Iron Halo the control officers cheered. The shield's holding. Outer grid stable. But Powell frowned. It won't hold forever. They'll test it, weaken it, and strike again. Harris looked calm. That's why we have Phase 6. Across the solar system, hidden platforms awakened. Massive cannons buried under the crusts of Mars, Titan, and Io. They charged silently, glowing with golden light. Target coordinates locked, said an AI voice. Firing sequence in 10 seconds. The first shot ripped through space, a beam of pure energy slicing across millions of kilometers, striking a Council battleship head-on. The explosion lit up half the sky. Within minutes, 5 more beams followed. Entire formations of the Grand Armada disappeared into blinding light. The galaxy had never seen humans fight like this. On the flagship Voss Pride, Speaker Zerkith watched in shock as the screens filled with fire. "Impossible," he hissed. "They couldn't have built this so quickly." His commander, a four-eyed warrior from the Drani race, spoke coldly. "They have been building for years. In secret. Preparing for this moment." Zerkith slammed a clawed hand against the console. "Then we destroy the planet itself." The Drani hesitated. "That would break every law of the Council." "The Council is dead," Zerkith roared. "Fire the planet breaker." The command was given. From the center of the Armada, a gigantic weapon unfolded, a glowing sphere the size of a city. Energy began to gather inside it, forming a beam bright enough to blind sensors. The planet breaker cannon aimed directly at Earth. An iron halo alarm screamed. "Energy spike detected. They're charging a world killer." Powell turned to Harris, her face pale. "If that fires, the shield won't hold." Harris took a slow breath. "Then we don't let it fire." He pressed a control on his wrist and spoke into the communicator. "Activate Omega Protocol, all shadow fleets engage target Alpha 1. In the blackness of space, hidden doors opened. Hundreds of small ships emerged, stealth corvettes, each carrying a single payload. They moved silently, unseen by radar, gliding through the chaos of battle. The alien fleets continued firing at the shield, unaware of what was coming. One by one, the shadow ships reached the planet breaker. They locked their courses and accelerated to full speed. Inside the alien superweapon, alarms blared. Unidentified crafts approaching, hundreds of them. Shields failing. Impact in. The rest of the message vanished in a white flash. The planet breaker cannon exploded, tearing itself apart. The shockwave rippled through the alien fleet, scattering their formations and sending debris across space. For a moment, the battlefield fell silent. Then the humans attacked. From the far side of the moon, Fleet Omega surged forward. Their ships moved in tight formation, the Resolute, the Dauntless, the Horizon, their weapons glowing blue with antimatter charge. They cut through the stunned alien ships like blades through water. "This is for Geneva," one pilot whispered. "For Earth," said another. The alien armada tried to regroup, but their own fleets began turning on each other. The broadcast Harris released earlier had done its work. Half the galaxy now doubted the Council's rule. Some ships refused to fight. Some even turned their guns on their former leaders. In the chaos, Trell's stolen ship appeared near the battle. His voice echoed through all open channels. "To any who can hear me, this war was built on lies. The Council enslaved your worlds. The humans fight not to conquer, but to free us all." For a brief moment the galaxy listened. And then, from dozens of alien ships, came a simple message. "This is the Free Alliance fleet. We stand with Earth." Zerkith watched in disbelief as entire wings of ships turned against him. "Traitors," he roared. "All of you." But before he could give another command, his flagship trembled. On the main screen, the image of a human warship appeared, massive, armored, unlike anything the Council had ever seen. "This is Admiral Powell of the United Earth Fleet," her voice said calmly. "Speaker Zerkith, you wanted war. You have it." The human ship's cannons fired. Zerkith's flagship exploded in a burst of blue light, disappearing into the endless night. Hours later, silence returned to the solar system. The battle was over. Half of the Grand Armada was destroyed, the rest in retreat. The shield of Terra still glowed faintly around Earth, cracked but unbroken. In Iron Halo's command room, exhausted officers watched as the red enemy signals vanished one by one. Powell looked at Harris. "We won." Harris shook his head. "No, we survived." He turned toward the window, watching the sun rise over the blue curve of Earth. "The Council is broken. But the galaxy will not forget this day." "And what now?" Powell asked softly. "Now," Harris said, "we build something better. Not an empire, but a promise." He placed his hand against the glass. "Humanity will stand, not above others but beside them. The age of arrogance is over." Weeks later, across the galaxy, new flags rose on alien worlds. The banner of the Free Alliance, a coalition of humans and liberated species. Trell became their first alien ambassador to Earth. Powell was named Supreme Commander of the Defense Fleet. And Harris at last returned home, to a quiet life beneath the stars he had once fought to protect. But sometimes late at night he would look up at the sky and whisper. "We walked away from their council, and built our own. The stars shone brighter that night. Because, for the first time in galactic history, the galaxy was truly free.